It's good to have all of you here. And once a quarter, I would like to have an Ask the Minister session. So last Sunday, people submitted some questions. Reverend Johanna used that passage of Scripture from James, which is, you have not because you ask not. Well, this is your chance to ask questions and to at least get my response to them. And so I've been sitting with these questions all week. We also, in addition to questions that were submitted in writing, we had a question that was submitted by text. And next Sunday in the message, as we move to the power of mastery, the power of mastery next month, those who would like, we'll be in the theme of purple. This month is wisdom. The color is yellow. So next week, I will incorporate some of the other questions into addressing some things about such things like spiral dynamics. How many people here have heard of spiral dynamics? Okay, just a few of you. So next week I'll be talking about spiral dynamics and the Holy Spirit. That should be fun. And this Sunday I am combining a number of questions around a similar theme. So I'm going to read these questions to you. By the way, all the questions were really good. All the comments were really good. Some comments and questions are maybe more suited for our town hall meeting. We have town hall meeting, at least at this point, once a quarter, and we'll have that today. Because there were questions about our youth and family ministries program, about our other ministries on campus, various things that kind of do with the administration of our ministry. But I'm going to be focusing on these questions. Let me read them. How do you navigate the gap between your belief about abundance and the lack showing up in external finances, like regarding the churches or your own? I've been with that all week. I've been with that for several years, actually. Here's another one. Thank you for the opportunity for questions. I am interested in the connections, and not, between unity and the Course in Miracles. You are a blessing to our community, and I'm blessed to be here. I'm going to tie all these together. You may wonder how. Well, we'll just see. Here's another one. Why talk about anything else but God's love? All will be achieved if love is the constant message. Very good. Transforming lives. How is, that's in our mission statement. Centered in God, we are transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. So, how is transforming showing up since you came back to Hawaii? And then, what is your favorite vegan food? Which, I'll just say, Indian food is my favorite food. If I need comfort food, I turn to Indian food. When I eat Indian food, and this might be a question for another time. When I eat Indian food, I'm like, I'm at home. My second favorite would be Thai. Okay, anyway. What's the difference between soul and spirit? Great questions. Here's another one where someone feels frustrated because there's so many things pressing in on them. How do I remain calm and able to function? Have you ever asked yourself that? I know I need to meditate and keep faith that God is with me. Plus learn to delegate and trust. And so all these I'm going to try to tie together. We'll see how it goes, all right? Yay. All right, navigating the gap. the gap between what we see showing up in our lives and the knowing that there's only one power and one presence. The knowing that there is no absence of God anywhere. There's no absence of abundance. There's no absence of wisdom or of beauty. There's no absence of love. There can't be. I mean, if we really believe, and I grew up in the Church of Nazarene, had a very good upbringing in that, and we were taught that God is everywhere, completely, fully, everywhere. So little Timmy raises his hand and says, then how can there be sin? So as a child, I'm wondering, well, wait, you're saying God's everywhere, fully, completely, and knows everything and is all powerful, but then why do we have suffering? Why do we have things going on, showing up in our world the way it does? I have been with this question a lot in numerous ways. Like, I will get up here and I will talk about abundance, that everything is available in God. Everything is here. Everything we need is here. And yet sometimes I'll look at my bank account and it's like, that doesn't look like my Sunday morning message. And so there's this gap, and I wonder, well, what is the gap? Now, I know in Unity, we teach about the absolute. And what we mean by the absolute is that in God, in the absolute, there is everything. All abundance, all wholeness and health, all peace, in the absolute. And yet in this material condition, we experience some lack or separation or discomfort or suffering at times. Maybe you don't, but many of us do. And so what I've found using Unity principles is that when I really dive deep into knowing the presence of God right here with me, when I know that presence of God living in me, when I know that there's no spot where God is not, when I know that wherever I am, God is, when I know that, and I know that by going into meditation, by use of affirmations, denials. Affirmation is where I'm affirming truth. Denials are where I'm gently sweeping away error. Okay? Such as Myrtle Fillmore did. When Myrtle Fillmore, one of the co-founders of the Unity movement, who had been taught since she was age 5 that she inherited sickness. She came from a family that had lots of sickness, and she was told she inherited that. And she came to a realization after going to a spiritual lecture, and this was her affirmation and denial. I am a child of God. That's the affirmation. Here's the denial. Therefore, I do not inherit sickness. How could she inherit it if her father, her source, is God? That became a meditation she used along with prayer principles. And even though she had been given a terminal diagnosis of tuberculosis, she had been given 6 months to live. After 2 years of praying daily for hours and asking all the parts of her body to forgive her for ever calling them weak, after using this affirmation, after 2 years, there was no sign of disease in her body whatsoever. She was completely whole and well. That impressed Charles Fillmore, her husband. Myrtle got it before Charles did, and Charles began doing treatment on his leg. At times his hip had been necrotic, at times it had been he had a shorter, shriveled leg from a skating accident as a child. His leg became stronger, took the braces off. It was actually measured, the leg actually grew. These are the roots of unity. So we know in the absolute that all abundance exists. But I want to get to a different aspect of this. A different aspect of this is being grateful for all that we have. Being grateful for all that is showing up in our lives, knowing that no matter what shows up in our lives, it is coming through God. It is coming through God's hands. I have prayed this prayer. I pray it daily. I don't know if you want to join me in it in your own personal life, but my prayer every day is, God, whatever it takes, I'm all in. I'm yours. Whatever it takes, bring me as close to you as I can possibly be. And I mean it. So when things come up in my life, I see it as a blessing. I see that there's a gift in it. I see that there's beauty in it. There can be difficult things that come up in our lives. It can look like, and this is all very temporary, so it's not in the absolute. It can look like there's not enough money. It can look like there's not enough time. But there's lots of ways in which the divine, in which God, Allah, Krishna, there are ways in which God answers our prayers. Lots of ways to be available. One quick example, there was a time in my life when I was having a lot of pain in my neck and pain in my knee. Arthritis. I was having pinched nerves. I was in horrendous pain. I used unity principles and experienced total healing. Yeah. My shoulder, which I had issues with my entire life, which would dislocate, which would go into tremendous pain during sports activities. My shoulder, I tried using those same principles, and my shoulder just got worse and worse and worse. How do you explain that? So I went to the doctor, had it x-rayed. They're like, oh my goodness, this is severely degenerated. You got shredding, good grief. So then they do a CT. It's even worse. Did an MRI. Oh, it's even worse. So I prayed and thought, I'm going to trust that God is using this as an opportunity to practice these principles while still seeking medical help. We don't shun medical help. But we still use unity principles. We do not get grounded in fear. We do not get grounded in a sense of separation. I knew that even though I was going for this surgery, I was all in, and God, you're here with me. Okay? We still use the principles. We don't use medicine instead of the principles. We use it together. And I credit that in part for the fact that I am way ahead of the curve for the expectations. Right? Swim without pain. Exercise without pain. It's weird to live without pain. It's wild. So, yeah, we don't shun medical treatment. But there were a lot of gifts in that. I learned how to receive help. I learned how to go deeper. I learned how to trust God even deeper. What are you doing in this? But I'm going to trust you. I want to read a Facebook post by a very close friend of mine. Matt, you may be watching. Matt and Erica Lilly in North Carolina. Very close friends. He and I get together about every 2 weeks. We go deep into spiritual practice, go deep into Bible study. Here's something that he posted recently. So pardon me while I read this, and it's okay with him. I have permission. It's in the public domain. This is on Facebook. Hello, friends and family. Wanted to share some news about my wife, Erica. Erica has been having migraine headaches on and off for the past couple of weeks. She was losing the ability to write and having some cognitive issues. We went to the doctor, referred us to a hospital. The hospital CT showed a mass about the size of a lemon in the left part of her brain, right back here behind the ear. At first, we were pretty fearful and sad. When doctors say things like tumor, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this. When doctors say things like tumor, and brain surgery, and they go through worst case scenarios, that can bring a lot of stuff up, right? She's scheduled for surgery tomorrow morning. It'll be at 1:30 a.m. our time. And I'm in prayer. And I got to talk with both of them and pray with them. We were originally frustrated that it was going to take 11 days for the surgery, but the doctors wanted some time for steroids to shrink the inflammation. Can you relate to being frustrated with things not going the way you anticipate? You have your faith in God. You have trust that all's going to work out, but then things show up. There seems to be a gap between what is showing up and in what you believe and know. We originally were praying for a miracle of healing and really focused on that. Then over a day or so, we have both come to the conclusion that the 11 days of waiting were the miracle. We both are feeling very close to each other and close to God. We truly feel that God is working a miracle in our lives and that this mass, this tumor, is the catalyst for something much deeper and more profound in our lives. With that said, she and I don't want anyone to feel sorry for us or express any type of, I am sorry. That's our first reaction usually. But we know in our hearts God is working for us. And this isn't something to be sorry for, but an opportunity for grace to shine. We've been humbled and grateful for people who've reached out, supported our family. It goes on to say here, we have found a deeper love for each other and for God during this miracle. They're calling it a miracle. And I asked Erica what she would want to tell people. She said, do not be afraid. It's all about love. So this is the deeper part of the question for me. That there really isn't a gap. What appears like lack, limitation, sickness, really is an opportunity for us to fully experience and grasp the grace, the presence of God, being there right with us. We believe in the three faces of God. God all around us, God living in us, and God right beside us as close as friend and confidant. So that takes me to another part of this where someone is asking about our connection between unity and the Course in Miracles. And someone else who's in the Course in Miracles who said, why talk about anything else but God's love? All will be achieved if love is the constant message. As the Beatles sang, love is all you need. Ba, 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 ba. Remember that song? Love really is the answer. Love is what connects us to the divine. Love is what connects us to the absolute, because God is love. John, in one of his letters called epistles, towards the end of the Christian scriptures, said, those who love know God. How can you know God and yet not love? For God is love. So love is the answer. When we go deeper into what is happening in our lives, it's all about going deeper into love. That is going on a deeper journey. Have you heard of the word bhakti? Do you know what the word bhakti means? It's a Sanskrit word. Do you know? Bhakti means loving devotional service. Bhakti means, in my case, all that I do, I'm doing for God. Bhakti means that even in the mundane things, like washing dishes, taking out the trash, or emptying the clothes from the dryer, it's all devotional service if I will but see that. That there's opportunities for devotional service that show up in our lives. There's people in the grocery line who need encouragement. There's people you ride with on the bus who need a smile and need to know that someone cares about them. There are children with whom you work that you are the light of their world. There are people who depend on you and think more of you than you can ever imagine. It's all about love. Whatever is showing up in our lives, it is an occasion to express and to show pure love. And that's the bhakti path, is to eventually love from a pure heart. To love God fully, to love others fully, to see only God in others and in all circumstances. And as my Maha Guru, Srila Prabhupada, was asked, isn't it a miracle that you can see Krishna, that you can see God everywhere? His response was, it's a miracle that other people don't. God is present everywhere, in everything, in every situation. But it may not always look that way. And the Course in Miracles, many unity churches, it's not a unity class, but many unity churches have a Course in Miracles group. This church, before the pandemic, had one or two Course in Miracles groups going on. And the Course in Miracles teaches that it's all about love. That we've gotten lost in the illusion of separation when actually we are all one with God and with each other. The premise upon which the Course in Miracles is founded is this statement: nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And I use that frequently in my life. When what looks like lack or limitation, when it looks like some struggle or difficulty, I know that nothing real can be threatened. That I am tapping into that which is real, that which is absolute. I am tapping into God rather than tapping into the illusion of separation and lack. So it all comes together here. So transforming lives. I see lots of lives being transformed. Now, I have the awesome privilege of being the coach of transformation here. And there's numerous coaches here. I get the opportunity to be the senior minister. And people talk to me about how their lives are being changed and transformed by what they hear in the Sunday message, by what they experience in spirit groups or in classes, by their interaction and fellowship with one another. It's amazing. People come to me and tell me about their stories of transformation. And I say, how would you like to share that with the whole congregation? And they're like, But I see lives being transformed. And soon, Dr. Thomas Gallagher and Reverend Margie Hyatt will help lead our Evolutionary Council, where they will interview any of us who are part of this community. Those of us physically here, those of us online, to ask us about what kind of transformation have we experienced here and what would help us to experience even more transformation. We're all about transformation. When we are able to see that what shows up as lack, as limitation, is actually something that is catapulting us, is a catalyst for us going deeper into our Christ nature, for us going deeper into the full abundance of God, transformation occurs. It's all opportunities for transformation. I think I'll save this one, what's the difference between soul and spirit, for next week. So the person who feels on the edge of exhaustion because of all the things going on in their lives, all that is happening, saying, I know I need to meditate more. Maybe you feel that way at times. Maybe those of you who are online, those of you who are here in person, just know that there is an inexhaustible resource that is going on inside of us. Jesus talked about it in the Gospel of John when he met this woman at the well, a Samaritan woman, a woman that Jewish people were not supposed to have dealings with. He was spending one-on-one time alone with a Samaritan and a woman. He was willing to stretch things and do things in whatever way he could preach, in whatever way he could reach people, he would do it. And it got people upset. They wanted him to conform to their way. But he knew that God's love was greater than anything and exceeded any of those social norms. And so he saw the presence of God in her. And he said, you will have a well of water springing up within you, an everlasting well of water. You have within each one of you an everlasting spring of water that can never be extinguished because the presence of God lives in you. You cannot be defeated. When you tap into that source, when you know the truth of who you are, when you know the truth of what God is, you cannot be defeated. There really is no lack. There is only God. There is only love. Thank you for the questions. I invite you to take a deep breath as we go into this time of meditation, as we go into this time of aligning with that presence of God that's all around us, living in us, right beside us, as close as friend. We breathe into this moment knowing that all that we have is here. All that we need is supplied. That God is unfolding a plan for us. It may look like a mystery, but we know that God is in it. God is in all of it. God is our constant friend and companion as we go into the silence. God, we thank you for your presence living in us, living all around us, living right beside us as closest friend. We know that wherever we are, you are, and all is well. And for this we give thanks, and so it is. Amen.